candidates. We're really excited about these people wanting to serve our community, and thank you for being here today. Now it gives me great pleasure to introduce to you Matt McCormick. He is our president for the Coolidge Chamber of Commerce, and he is also the vice president of St. Holdings LLC. Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn, and thank you everyone for being here. Before we get started, we just want to thank all of our candidates for showing up today. We appreciate your willingness to serve the city, and we're all excited to hear about your views, thoughts, your positions, so it should be a great night. So with that, we'd like to welcome all of our audience too. Throughout the evening, if you have any questions, there's some cards up on the front table, so if you have any questions you want us to go ahead and write those down, and then if you hold them up, Lynn or someone else will be around to collect them, and we'll grab those and we'll get through as many as we can. We've got some prepared questions we'll go through first. So tonight's event is brought to you by the Coolidge Chamber of Commerce. Again, so thank you to us for sponsoring this. So we have 3 open seats on the council, 5 possible candidates. The primary election is on July 30th of this year. Mail-in voting ballots begin July 3rd, and you must have your mail-in ballot in by July 23rd. So for those of you who haven't registered to vote, make sure you get out and register. The format for tonight is going to be a forum that is designed to help the candidates express their viewpoints. So this is not going to be a debate. We're not going to be directing questions or comments at each of the candidates themselves. So it'll be each person to respond individually to these questions. Again, if you have questions from the audience, make sure you write those down, hand them in to us. We're going to go through first, we'll do introductions for each candidate, and then we have a series of prepared questions. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to respond to each of those prepared questions, and then our introductions will be 3 minutes. Again, we'll have a timer up front. Robin will show you when you have 1 minute left, and then again when 30 seconds are left. Again, please be respectful of everyone's time. We'll try to keep everything equal and fair, so when you reach the end of your time, please yield to the next candidate. If you need to finish your thought and you have a few seconds left, that's fine, but please keep it concise and within the time frame. So with that, we'd like to welcome our candidates. So we'll go alphabetically. We'll just list them off. So we have Ian Gillespie here. Then we have Councilman Steve Hudson, excuse me, Don Jennings, Randall Rushing, and Tom Shope. So with that, let's kick off the event. So up first is the introduction. So again, 3 minutes each for each of the candidates, and we will start with Ian Gillespie.
Ian Gillespie. I'm born and raised here in Coolidge. 3rd generation cotton farmer. Graduated in 2007. Played football in Colorado. Moved back a year later after a knee injury and started farming. Been doing that ever since. Married my wife in 2014. She's here tonight with our 2 daughters. We started dating in 2006, right before our senior year. She's put up with me for this long. Must be doing something right. We're kind of an outdoorsy family, I guess. Like to do things outdoors, fishing, hiking, camping, going up to the mountains, getting out of the heat. We're involved in our church, try to go to church every Sunday. And yeah, that's it.
Great, thank you very much, appreciate that. All right, we're gonna carry on alphabetically and we'll move on to Councilman Hudson.
Yes, Steve Hudson, lived in Coolidge about 43 years. Been in the car business about 50 years and in Pinal County for about 43. Married a Coolidge girl, have 2 daughters that were born and raised here in Coolidge, and 6 grandkids. Up to about 5 years ago, I was very active in St. James Catholic Church, where I held Finance Committee, Board of Directors, Pastoral Council, Fiesta Committee, and then just recently resigned from 6 years as the Board of Director of First American Credit Union. My family and I love the city of Coolidge, otherwise I'd be here. I have been on the city council for about 14 years, I think it is. And I just, after a while, decided to give back to the community that has been good to me. And so I'm going to try, if you want to elect me, be another 4 years, and that'll be it. I'll be 72 years old and going to hopefully retire and spend a little time enjoying life. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilman Hudson. Okay, up next, Ms. Jennings.
Hi, I'm Dawn Jennings. So I actually have a little bit different story. I grew up in Hawaii. My dad was a pastor of a little tiny church in a very small, and I moved away to college, met my husband there. He was from this area. His family, he grew up in this area. His family still lives around here. So we moved to Arizona about 18 years ago, and moved down to Coolidge about 14 years ago now. And we have a large family. My family is a foster and adoptive family, so it's kind of funny because people ask me how many kids I have, and I have to kind of think about it for a minute because right now I've got 8. I do have 2 adult daughters as well, so they're great helping with the younger kids. My goal is usually just to put my beliefs into action. So, that's why when we heard about in Arizona the need for foster families, instead of just, talking about it, we became a foster family. When we started that, there was over 18,000 foster kids in care in Arizona. So, I try to help in my community wherever I can. Community is very important to me. So I'm also a Girl Scout troop leader, and for a job, I do private tutoring. So I'm a firm believer in things that strengthen our community for our families. So that's most important to me, like strong police department, strong fire department, supporting our schools wherever possible so our students and families here can be successful. Thanks.
Thank you. Yep, next, Mr. Rushing.
First, I would like to thank all of you in the audience for coming out this evening. I would like to thank the Chamber for putting on this event, Ms. Parsons, Ms. Robin, and our moderator, Mr. McCormick, thank you. I am Randall Rushing, born and raised here in Coolidge, Arizona. Had 2 of the best parents a young man could ever ask for. I posted something online several weeks ago, and the person said, "Wow, you're just like your dad." And I chuckled, and I responded to them, if I could be 20% of what my father was, I'd consider that a job well done. I thank God for my parents, very much so. I was able to serve on this council many years ago, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. And I just hope the citizens of this community will allow me the opportunity to do that again. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rushing. And up next, Mr. Shope.
Thank you. I'm not a native of Coolidge. I've only been here for 71 years. But I went to school here. I graduated in 1966 and enrolled at Eastern Arizona College in Thatcher. Went to school 3 years at ASU and did not graduate. In those days, you had 4 years to go to school, not the 5 and 6 year plans you have now. But I ended up 6 hours short of a degree and never went back because I was too consumed in the family business. And so I took over that in 1970, growing up in it prior to that. And we have just recently sold that business too, and I want everybody to know that because sometimes you still see the name still on there and say, does he still have that? I said, it's something that we did sell, and it was time. At 75, you need to move on and do something else, So sitting at home with nothing to do, I said, well, you know what? There's an opening up on council, 3 of them as a matter of fact. Let's go ahead and give it a try. So that's why I'm here. Let's see, I've been involved politically, obviously, to some of you who have been here a long time also. I was first elected to the school board back in 73 until 76. I then went on to run for city council and was mayor 14 out of the 16 years I was on council. Then 2 years I got a smart thing happen in my head, whatever it was, but it was suggested I run for justice of the peace, I did that and served there for 2 years. But I'm happy I did all that. I attend St. James Roman Catholic Church, and I've served on a few committees there, for example, Knights of Columbus. I'm married. My wife Luce is in the audience tonight. We have 4 children, and let's see, been involved in a lot of other things I don't think that are too, well, it would take too long to go through a lot of them. They're just 1 minute to go, that's good. Let's just stop it right there. But I need something to do. I don't like sitting at home with nothing to do, and I don't have hobbies. In the summertime, you can't get out and do anything anyway, so I'm going to try to serve this community I grew up in and love very much. So anyway, thank you. Thank you all for being here tonight, too.
Thank you, Mr. Shope. We're going to move into the question phase of tonight's program. Before we do, we just want to we do have maintenance up on the roof working on the AC, so there's a lot of heavy hitters in the room, so they made sure. Appreciate that. So appreciate your patience on the heat. It will come down, we do believe. So, all right, moving into the question phase. Each candidate is going to get the same question. You'll have 2 minutes to respond, and then we are going to rotate who responds first, again, just alphabetically. So Mr. Shope, sorry you got the short end of the stick. We're going to start down here again. So Mr. Gillespie took the intros first, so we're going to move on to Councilman Hudson to answer the first, and then we'll just move down the line and circle back to Mr. Gillespie. So up first, the question is, what do you consider the most significant opportunities Coolidge has in the future? So
Well,
Councilman Hudson.
the opportunities that Coolidge has is tremendous right now. There's a lot of growth going on. When I first came here, I think there was like about 7,000 or 8,000 people. I think we're at 18,000 people now. Some of the opportunities we have is a big one, which I think you're a part of, is the inland port south of town, where Nikola and also Procter & Gamble will be breaking ground hopefully by the end of this year, which those 2 companies, Nikola right now employs quite a few citizens from Coolidge. And then Procter & Gamble, of course, will be employing quite a few citizens for Coolidge. We got the airport that we just got done upgrading the electrical system on, and that's going to be significant in bringing other industries in to the airport. And then, of course, with those things, bring the job, and I think the job is the biggest opportunity that the citizens are going to have to try to keep our youth here instead of graduating and leaving town and not coming back. So those are the opportunities I see.
Great. Thank you, Councilman Hudson. We'll move on to Ms. Jennings. What do you consider the most significant opportunities Coolidge has in the future?
So kind of to the same point, the fact that we're so near Phoenix, we get a lot of people coming down here, and I feel like the growth opportunity here is really amazing because of that and the land and the potential for new businesses coming in. And I think it would be amazing if we could figure out ways to keep families here instead of them having to go up to Phoenix for a lot of things. Services, if you have children that have any kind of medical needs, we have nothing. I mean, even Casa Grande is kind of limited, so I have to drive my kids up to Phoenix probably twice a week. So the more businesses that come down here, the more that will bring in other support services for our families and community. So I think we're kind of, even the growth that I've seen since I've lived here for 14 years has been pretty substantial. So I think we're kind of just poised on the edge of some even more, amazing growth. And it'll really help support our community. And like he was saying, to keep our kids here, keep our families here, so people can grow up and find jobs and industries here in our town. So I think that is really, really great opportunities looking toward the future here for us. Thanks.
Great. Thank you, Ms. Jennings. Mr. Rushing, same question. What do you consider the most significant opportunities Coolidge has?
Location, location, location. Last time I was on the council, and Mr. Shope can attest to it, we had a lot of conversations with ADOT, and I was intrigued about the notion that we are centrally located. We are the midpoint between Phoenix and Tucson. I know ADOT had a lot of plans for us in the transit system. And I think and I'm not sure what we're doing with that right now, but I think it'll be very beneficial of us to utilize ADOT. We have the land, we have the dirt, Mr. Hudson spoke about the airport. If we utilize our location, the land that we already have, and our airport, I feel as if we can do some things that would be very beneficial for the community.
Thank you, Mr. Rushing. Mr. Shope, same question. What do you consider the most significant opportunities Coolidge has in the future?
Well, there's a lot of them, tremendous opportunities. We are in the middle of the growth corridor that was first spoken to us as a council probably 15 years ago. If there's a name to it, I can't remember the name to it, but you started with Santan Valley through Maricopa. You've seen what those two communities have done with Casa Grande in the middle of that. We're right there too, and it's going to happen sooner rather than later. So there's opportunities. We've seen it a little bit in the industrial part, which it was tough for a long time, but out south of town where Nikola has already built and been operating for a couple of years probably, and then P&G, Procter & Gamble, they have gotten land out there, so they haven't started with hiring yet or anything, to my knowledge anyhow, but there's a lot of opportunity out there, and with those two, I think they can attract more business opportunities out there as far as industrial growth goes. And the airport ties right into that, because the airport is tons better than what it was when I left, and they've got electricity out there. Remember the electrical problems we had? We couldn't get finally, somehow or another, they've resolved that, and now it's ready to grow again. Commercial opportunities, there's, in my opinion, having come from that field, there's a lot of commercial opportunities here. Just take some people coming in and starting a business and seeing what happens. We've had a couple of recent additions, one of them of all places, a chicken place with the headquarters in Rocky Point. So, but it's going very strong down there, and it's just those kind of little investment. Doesn't have to be a big thing, although, you know, it would be nice to have also. People, by the way, they want this, they want that. They want an Aldi's grocery store. They want this and that. Got to be realistic, though. I mean, you have to have the population for all that. So you don't want to bring in something that's going to fail inside of a month or two, because that doesn't look good either. So it's not an easy answer, and I think my time's about up. But anyhow, we do have opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shope. Okay, on to Mr. Gillespie to wrap out the first question. So again to you, what do you consider the most significant opportunities that Coolidge has in the future?
So I think after everyone kind of hit on a lot of the points I would want to make, but I think with the growth that we've had, especially in the last few years, and with our location, with the railroad and all the vacant land we have, I think there's a big opportunity there for growth along the railroad corridor, and with the airport and being so close to the 10, I feel like there's a big opportunity for us to expand and have more job opportunities here for people and for residents, and to bring in more industry and more businesses, and hopefully keep more of our youth here. So that way we can have some more, they're not, you know, I know as a kid, we would go up to the valley a lot because there wasn't much to do here in high school. And I think bringing more activities here and businesses that are more teenager, you know, early 20s, kid-friendly sort of stuff would be beneficial.
Great. Well, thank you, Mr. Gillespie. Okay, that wraps up question number 1. So we're going to move on to Ms. Jennings to start off question number 2. Before we do that, I do have to apologize. I recognized Councilman Hudson, but we do want to recognize our current elected officials. So we have Mr. Councilman Eric Daniels as well as Mr. Bagnall over here. So we appreciate them coming out and showing support for these other candidates. So
Got one more.
Oh, I knew you were here. And as well as Jackie Henry. I apologize. I should have known that one without a card. So thank you so much for being here. I guess I'm glad you're not rerunning. I'd be in trouble right now. Okay, on to question number 2. What specific skills do you feel you would bring to the council, and where do you see yourself making the biggest impact, Ms. Jennings?
I think that my skills is just kind of networking. I'm good at talking to people from different walks of life, different groups. I really feel strongly about bringing communities together and working together toward goals. So I think that I would bring that toward the job. I really like listening to what other people have to say. Sometimes I don't even have an opinion on something yet myself, because I feel like in this job, it would be to represent the citizens of Coolidge. So I really like hearing what other people have to say. When I was actually collecting signatures, I actually really enjoyed walking around and talking to people. I learned a lot about some of the people in our community and what their, desires and wants for our town were. So I feel like that's a strength I bring.
Great, thank you. On to Mr. Rushing. What specific skills do you feel you would bring to the council, and where do you see yourself making the biggest impact?
Specific skills. I'm an advocate of the people. I am easily accessible. I'm on many social media platforms. Don't call me, text me, and I'll get back to you. The impact, we have many elder statesmen, and I feel at times it's hard to reach our youth, and it's more difficult, the more seasoned folks, it's more difficult for them to reach the youth. I feel as if I'm able to bridge that gap. Communication is key in many platforms, but also the comprehension of the communication. So being able to speak with different audiences, different genres, is one of my skill levels, and I think it'll be impactful as things go on. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rushing. On to Mr. Shope. Again, same question. What specific skills do you feel you would bring to council, and where do you see yourself making the biggest impact?
One of the biggest points of impact would be experience. I've served 14 years or 16 years on the city council, 14 of them as mayor, as I mentioned earlier. I hope that accounts for something. I know the issues are different. There weren't solar farm issues 10 years ago. There certainly are now. So, but a lot of other areas, I'm sure it'll be helpful to have that experience. Knowledge of the community. I grew up in this community. I grew up on South Main Street in Elm. They have movies, Main and Elm, don't they? Something about that anyway. So, but anyway, that's where I grew up, and so I know the community, know the people in the community, except for all the newcomers, and there's quite a few of those. Open-mindedness. I've got an open mind about things, and with a preconceived notion about anything, and I never have operated that way. But and then availability. I've got the time. Maybe not as available as when I worked in the supermarket, where I was exposed all the time and couldn't run and hide any place. But I can still be found. And if you can't find me, I'll probably have to put my phone number out there where everybody knows what it is and that type. Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Shope. Okay, on to Mr. Gillespie. Same question. What specific skills do you feel you would bring to the council, and where do you see yourself making?
I think just my knowledge of the community, being born and raised here. Also, I wouldn't say my youth, but my age, where it is, I think I can kind of, what Mr. Rushing said, I can kind of bridge the gap between the older generation and the younger generation, and hopefully be able to bring both together. And I think that, sorry, I lost my train of thought. Sorry, I lost where it was. Anyway, we'll leave it at that.
Thank you. Okay, and to wrap up question number 2, Councilman Hudson.
Well, being in the automobile business as long as I've been in there, I've seen quite a few changes. And being on the retail side, you see quite a few people over the last 50 years, different personalities, different walks and quality of life. So you learn how to adjust to each different person that you're talking to. I've been through 2 recessions and 2 gas crunches, so I know how to be able to cut expenses, to be able to hang on to a business, to be able to multitask and do 2 or 3 different jobs. Being on the city council now for 12, 14 years, I understand the different problems that we have and have had. And and have helped, I think, and evidently the citizens of Coolidge have thought, being elected 2 or 3 times, that I bring a lot to the table in the finance end of it too. Not only in the car business, but I have been involved with banking, with the credit union. And also, even though not in that big of, as the city is financial-wise, but with our church being on the finance committee. That, you know, in the car business, we've come from being able to be able to do things by hand. We had a major change when they brought computers, and then it had a major change again when we had the internet. So I can adjust to things that are happening, that are changing in the world, and hopefully be able to help the citizens of Coolidge and the city of Coolidge adjust to those changes, because even though I might be 68 years old, you can't teach an old dog a new trick. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Hudson. Okay, we're going to move on to question number 3. We're going to start with Mr. Rushing this time. The question is, what do you think is the city's greatest accomplishment, or what has been the city's greatest accomplishment in the last 3 years, and what one thing would you like to see accomplished in the next 3 years?
Greatest accomplishment. It's kind of tough to say. With the influx of persons that we have coming into the community, I think the city's done a pretty good job of managing that. I see our new pool. I'm just enamored with our new pool. I'm so glad that we were able to get that finished. It is a good look for the city. I'm aware of a couple projects that we have coming up. Those are also going to be great accomplishments for the city of Coolidge. Next 3 years, much of what we can do is dictated by our budget. And as the budget goes, so does the city. So hopefully, the budget our projection is looking good for the next few years. And I think we'll be able to bring about some new things to the city that people will benefit from. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rushing. Mr. Shope, same question. Greatest accomplishment in the last 3 years, and the one thing you'd like.
Well, I'll agree with Mr. Rushing that the budget kind of restricts or, makes it more able to do projects in the future. I think we're cutting a break from the state and the fact that, to my knowledge, and I don't think they're going to do it, they're not going to get into our state shared revenues like they did 10 or 15 years ago, because that really set the city back several years whenever that happened. So, and I'm trying to educate a certain person on that to make sure that that doesn't happen. But anyway, the pool Randall mentioned was a good, one good thing. The growth in housing, I mean, there wasn't much growth 10 years ago when I was there. I think we had a couple projects, but there's nothing to brag about. And well, Heartland was actually before that too. So, but overall, the growth in housing, and there's still, we need to look at affordable housing, and hopefully somebody can point us in that direction, or some group can come, some housing group can come in here and build some affordable housing, because we're like any other community. It's pretty tough right now to afford to buy a home. The rent and the rental car, I've got a house across the street from me renting for $3,000 a month. I mean, I don't know anybody here can pay that. I wouldn't want to pay that. I mean, it's ridiculous. Of course, right now it sits empty too. But anyhow, we'll just keep going, and we're just open to anything that does come along. And I think with 30, I think I'll just cut it right there.
Thank you, Mr. Shope. Move on to Mr. Gillespie. Same question. The greatest accomplishment in Coolidge in the last 3 years, and what you'd like to see accomplished in the next 3.
In the last 3 years, gaining a full-time fire department, I think, was a big accomplishment for us, instead of just having the volunteer fire department. I feel like the growth that we've had and the way the city's managed that growth, especially with the improvement of our roads, has helped a lot managing that. And then the aquatic center was a big one, especially with my two daughters. They love it. So I think that's been a big plus in our community. In the next 3 years, I don't see the growth really stopping. So I just think as long as we continue to manage the growth responsibly, I think there's some big opportunity there. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Gillespie. On to Councilman Hudson. Greatest accomplishment in the last 3 years and what you'd like to see accomplished in the next 3.
Well, I've been really blessed to be on the council. Changes going on, and it's just not one person. Not only do you have a great city employees, but the council as a whole. I mean, there's 6 people on the council, 5 people on the council, and you got to have everybody working together to be able to accomplish what we've accomplished. The accomplishments that I've seen in the last 7 or 8 years just been phenomenal. I mean, we've got probably one of the most aggressive road repairs than any other city I know of. And that's when I got on the council. I mean, some of these roads, you might as well tear the asphalt up and start driving horses and buggies because it was almost dirt. But that's one of the greatest accomplishments I see is the road that we have going on right now, the road repair. Getting the electricity out the airport, that is huge. I mean, we got one business out there right now that employs, I think, 15, 20 residents here in Coolidge that makes guns for the government. And they needed that electricity to keep that business here. Taking care of the city buildings and everything. I mean, we upgraded Public Works, which was living in a shack, pretty much working out of a shack, out of aluminum, and the roof was disarray. I don't know how they even worked at it, but upgraded that building, had an opportunity to buy a building that the city paid cash for. And now we got an up-to-date, beautiful facility for the Public Works to work out of. The Aquatic Center, of course. The things I see in the future is, of course, the inland port. That is big in the airport to bring in businesses that not only to generate sales tax, pay checks for people, and they come back and spend money here. So, thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Hudson. And on to Ms. Jennings, same question. The greatest accomplishment in Coolidge in the last 3 years and one thing you'd like to see accomplished in the next 3.
So I think the most impressive accomplishment that I've noticed, well, there's kind of 2 things. One is how for such a small city, how we've been able to keep up with the infrastructure with this like rapid growth. Like I've been really impressed with their fixing the water systems to keep the water pressure up for all the new housing with the new wells, the roads, everything. Like it's a big challenge for such a small town to be able to manage that rapid growth. And I think they've done an excellent job in all the city departments. And then the other thing I've been very impressed with living here is the Parks and Rec department. Like for a small town, they go above and beyond. They have hundreds of kids participating in every sport. Like my whole family would have filled up the whole half side there, except most of my kids are on the swim team right now with the Parks and Rec, so they have practice. So the opportunities, especially for the kids under 12 that our city provides, and as there's been many new families joining our town, they have grown and been able to accommodate more and more, and that's a really big accomplishment for a small town. And some of the things I see, I mean, I know they're planning a new park that's in the works, so I think that's going to add a lot of opportunities for families here, as well as encouraging the growth and encouraging people to keep moving down here. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so that wraps up question number 3. So we're going to move on to question number 4. And we're going to start with Mr. Shope this time. So as a member of the City Council, how would you balance quality of life projects with public safety? And would you be willing to raise property taxes if some of those needs were unmet?
Okay, could you repeat the first part of that
This
question?
is a 2-part question, so I should have. So as a council member, how would you balance quality of life needs with public safety needs? And would you be willing to raise property taxes if some of those needs were unmet?
Well, property taxes are really they don't generate a whole lot of revenue, you know. So if you had some issues like that, you're going to need to go to your other tax revenue sources for stuff like that. I mean, yeah, they can be a part of that, but I don't think property taxes create.
Yeah, maybe let me clarify. Let's just say tax. Could be
Taxes.
sales tax or property tax.
Sure, okay, okay. Well, sales tax I wouldn't be interested in increasing because it's already at 3% city tax now. And if you raise it any higher, that'd be really anti-competitive with the surrounding communities and really anybody else in the state. I think we'd all like to do it, but there's just no way that can be done. The other part of the question was balancing safety
Balancing
with.
quality of life projects with public safety needs.
Well, it's a really hard question to answer for me, but public safety certainly has been an issue of the community with what we have going on on 87 out here in Skowson. But we do for one thing, it's finding, I think, and we dealt with that issue 10 years ago when I was on the council. It's taken that long, just so you all know, it takes that long to get these communities to these questions to the forefront and everything. So thankfully, that thing is in the process of being done right now, although it's going to take a few patients. Safety is the main factor. You do what you have to do with that, and if you have if you're strong safety-wise, you're going to have better quality of life anyway.
Thank you, Mr. Shope. Okay, on to Mr. Gillespie, same question. So as a council member, how would you balance quality of life projects with public safety needs? And part two, would you be willing to raise taxes in any form to meet those needs?
So I think without adequate public safety, it's hard to have quality of life. So I think public safety it's a tough balance, but I think I would be willing to listen to citizens on what their thoughts would be or what they would want to see as far as quality of life projects and figure out how to balance those. But I think public safety is a big need, and we need to ensure that we have adequate public safety here. And the second part, no, I wouldn't want to raise taxes of any kind. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gillespie. Same question to you, Mr. Hudson. On council, how would you balance quality of life projects with public safety needs, and would you raise taxes to meet those needs?
Well, and you got to look at both aspects of it. You got to have the quality of life of the citizens who do pay the property tax and the sales tax here. So we are looking at putting in a new park. And that park, it's going to cost quite a bit of money. We're going to use some impact fees and everything. We're going to try to get businesses and people that we have relationships with to donate some money to help pay for that. It's going to have to be done in stages, but a park out there, our park out at Kenilworth right now is just overflowing with kids with baseball, soccer, t-ball. So we need to get another park for these citizens that are coming in, for the kids to be able to go out, the families go out and have activities out there and be able to support it. We're going to have baseball fields out there, basketball fields, pickleball. You're going to have a walking park out there, dog park out there. So some of the ways you're going to be paying for that are, like I said, impact fees from new housing. You are going to get some donations from businesses. And the quality of life goes, in fact, with the public safety. People want public safety. They want the police and fire. And the only way you generate money in the city is sales tax and property tax. All the other money that is generated is from grants. So you're going to have to pay for, down south, we're going to have to probably start another fire department, in the next 5 to 10 years. You're going to have to upgrade the waste treat water plant out there. So sales tax, I don't believe is a good way to generate it. To help offset this, we're going to have to probably look at raising property tax to give the police officers more pay and try to retain them here. So, thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Hudson. Okay, on to Ms. Jennings. Same question. As a member of council, how would you balance quality of life projects with public safety needs? And would you be willing to raise taxes to meet those needs?
So I definitely think quality of life and public safety go hand in hand. Especially you're talking about new families in our town, it's a partnership. I feel like we actually do that somewhat good right now, and we can always improve on some of these areas. Like, there's some really awesome events like Game Night, where the police department and a lot of resources in our community have a big event, and all the kids and families come down, and it helps kids feel like public safety and library and fire department are all like part of our community, and it helps, families be aware of the opportunities. So I feel like things like that really help with public safety, rather than just saying, more police patrols or something like that. I think community effort for public safety goes a really long way. And then I think that also there's also opportunities like Police Explorers and some of the things that like Cavett does also really help encourage our youth, because that is what is going to keep our town safe and productive, is our young kids growing up to be productive members of the community. And then as far as property or increasing sales or property tax, that would be like beyond last resort. I feel like if we can get new businesses in town and get people to be able to shop here instead of having to go up to Chandler or Gilbert or Phoenix to shop, I think that's going to increase our sales tax right there alone without having to raise the taxes. We'll have a lot more people shopping in town, and then we'll have more revenue for our city. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jennings. Okay, on to Mr. Rushing, same question. As a member of council, how would you balance quality of life projects with public safety needs and taxes to meet those needs?
First of all, this is very much a three-part question, sir.
You're right.
Taxes, as she mentioned, that has to be our very last resort. Raising taxes is very taboo in this city. Nobody wants to hear about taxes being raised, and nor do I. Mr. Hudson spoke about grants. I've heard that the city's been doing a very good job applying for grants. I think we're going to have to do more. Quality of life, safety needs, always important. A lot of cities outside of here are looking at self-policing. And self-policing is not you making a citizen arrest yourself. That's, if you see something, say something. Report meticulous activities. We have to start helping ourselves and not expect the city to do everything for us. We need to help ourselves. So if we don't want to pay taxes and we're not getting all these grants, we definitely have to look upon ourselves to do more for the city. So citizen participation, keeping our streets safe ourselves, quality of life is always important. We always need something for everyone to do. And as she mentioned, and also Mr. Shope used to say all the time, we got to shop local. At first, I thought he was just trying to create revenue for himself and his store.
Not me.
But once I started thinking about it, it's true. We have to shop local. We have to keep our local businesses generating revenue, or else they'll be gone like everything else. So police ourselves, shop local, find more grants to apply for. I'm almost done.
You can wrap up if you like. Just
And I'm done. I'm just joking.
Thank you, Mr. Rushing.
you.
Appreciate that. Okay, we're going to circle back to Mr. Gillespie again for the first answer on this question. I'll probably circle out to the audience for a few questions after this, so we'll do one more prepared question. So question number 5, starting with Mr. Gillespie. What are some of the policy issues currently before the council that interest you?
I think the solar farm issue was, I don't know if you call it solar farms, or the solar issue was something I was paying close attention to. That's kind of been an interesting topic to me. I farm out there around all that solar that goes in, and kind of listening to both sides and learning more about it. I've kind of learned that, there's better ways to go about it, I guess. There's, instead of, tearing up farmland to put solar in, and saying that it's gonna be farmable in the next 20, 30 years. I think there's better ways to do that. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gillespie. On to Councilman Hudson. What are some current policy issues before the council that interest you?
Well, Ian made a good point about the solar, and it's a good way of saying how do you get the citizens involved. The citizens did get involved. The citizens formed a group and met with the city council, or met with the mayor and the city manager, and they proposed an area that all this future solar will go in that area, no matter what it will be. There was a company that wanted to come in and put a battery storage facility here, and they met all the requirements that they should have been able to do it. But there was an area that the city agreed upon that that's where the solar was going to go, and it was because of the citizens of Coolidge that got involved, put that together, and so that's what's going to go. We're going to have more and more solar companies come in and try to get in our back door. And, the citizens have spoken. And so the city manager listened, the city council listened, and we're not going to do any more. There's a lot of policies right now that, you got affordable housing that has been trying to come in here. We just approved an apartment complex out there by River Co-op Gin. So that is one of the issues that we're dealing with right now, trying to get more businesses in here. That's another issue we're dealing with right now. So, to look at the city council, we don't have all the answers. We get a lot of, find out from the citizens which way they want to go in the direction and get input from them. But those are the issues that I see right now.
Thank you, Councilman Hudson. On to Ms. Jennings. What are some policy issues currently before the council that
As has been mentioned, I know that the solar is a huge topic right now. I have been to a lot of events here. I've been to city council meetings here. I've never seen the turnout we had when that last battery storage was, they had to open the doors and the whole back room was packed. So our city definitely feels strongly about that. Especially the battery storage. Now that we have so much solar in this area, the battery storage is making a lot of in our town feel really uncomfortable. They're very dangerous, and we feel like it's not really it's not providing a benefit to the city of Coolidge. It's mostly for storage for Phoenix. Some utility companies that don't even service our area are putting them in, and yet we have to assume this danger. Our fire department has to assume the risk. So I know it's a really big issue for Coolidge. A lot of citizens here feel really strongly about it. And then another thing that I've heard a lot of people talking about is the police department and fire department. Like our police chief said it's a struggle to get enough officers to fill all the positions. And even the fire department is having trouble keeping fully staffed and retaining their employees. So I think that's talking about their benefits and what we need to do to keep our police and fire strong is definitely an important issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jennings. Mr. Rushing, same question. What policy issues currently before the council interest you?
Well, I think I'd be a bit remiss if I didn't speak on solar and battery as if everyone else has. The issue for me is how are we as a community benefiting from this solar and battery? Is it creating revenue for the city? Is it creating jobs for the city? Are we better off with the solar and battery in the city? And as Mr. Hudson said, the people have spoken. Sounds like a unanimous no to me. So, sounds like we're going away from that. Affordable housing. I was in Chandler for almost 15 years. When I moved to Chandler, I think I was paying $600 and something a month for a one-bedroom apartment. Stayed in those same apartments. Beautiful. Love that little place. Chandler and Dobson, right by the hospital on Fry. When I left there last year, my rent had went up to $1,600 and something a month. Same one-bedroom apartment. They didn't come in and change my cabinets out and put in marble flooring it was the same apartment I was paying $1,000 a month more for. Affordable housing is not only a problem here, it's a problem in a lot of places. And again, we've got to be creative to find solutions. And also with new businesses coming in, we just have to become more attractive as a community to start creating a buzz about Coolidge, creating more interest about Coolidge, and then people will invest in Coolidge. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rushing. Mr. Shope, same question. Policy issues currently before council that interest you?
Well, solar has come up, and we're all going to speak on solar. I am, and it's an issue that's not going away. Sure, they have done their job, and I commend the city. This is the area solely and for solar farms and everything. Now they've tried to sneak in battery without into the same area the solar farm policy is, and I just can't help but think these guys, and they're all in there to make money, but they want to come in to an easier town like us apparently, because they're not doing this in Casa Grande, and put things that are ugly like solar farms and battery storage, and that's what they are in my opinion. And I think we have 8,300 acres right now of solar farms in the area. Enough. That's all we need. We don't need any more. We didn't need that much, but kudos to the council for stopping it. I just think we always need to keep our eyes open. Also, what they did in stopping that should point out to the community out there that if you get together on policies like that, you can make a difference. I mean, the council sits up there a lot of times and hears nothing. And believe me, I've been 16 years experience on that. You don't hear anything from people about what they want. But people came forward this time, and they've helped put a stop to it, put some controls on this thing. So kudos to the Coolidge people of Coolidge in that also. Well, police was mentioned and fire and all that. Yeah, one thing we need to do as a council probably on this one is we need to take a good, hard, serious look at police salaries. And probably fire salaries, although I don't know if they're behind. But police salaries are behind. They've been behind for a long time. And it's just, we're losing officers. Communities around us are paying more than Coolidge is. And that makes it hard to keep those officers. But I think if we're concerned about safety, we need to make sure that we don't continue to lose police officers. And we have some good ones on the force here. I think my time's up.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Shope. Appreciate that. I also appreciate all of your answers because a number of the questions from the audience were on. Covered that pretty well. If we have time, I might come back to one kind of alternative question about energy and solar. So with that, I'll move on. This time we're going to start with Mr. Hudson, or Councilman Hudson, and we'll go to how do you plan to involve residents in the decision process in the city of Coolidge?
Well, a perfect example is the citizens have to get involved, and we have an agenda that's posted on our website, and it's also posted in the newspaper when the city council meetings are and what is on the agenda. Perfect example was the solar. Those citizens got involved. Other than that, we have done 2 surveys since I've been on the council, and sent them out to residents here in Coolidge and asked what their most important things are, what they would like to see in town. And we have taken those, and one of them was the road projects that we have implemented. Another one was activities where we did the swimming pool in the aquatic center there. But you have to be able to, we've got Facebook, which the city uses. We got Instagram, which the city uses. We have our website that people can go to. Just posting what is happening and the things that are on the agenda. And getting them involved. And I can't see any other way. People don't read the newspaper anymore. They're on social media. Of course, we have Channel 11, but I was looking at the other day and they were showing something on there 4 years old. So, that's not very up to date to let them know what's going on. But I'd say just have the citizens look at our website, look at Facebook when the city posts something. They post a lot of jobs on the website, on our Facebook and Instagram. So just try to get the city involved in different ways to look at, that type of social media and our website to find out what's going on, to come to a meeting and give us your input.
Thank you, Councilman Hudson. On to Ms. Jennings, same question. How would you plan to involve residents in the decision-making process in Coolidge?
Definitely, like Councilman Hudson was saying, social media, it's actually kind of hard to see. I have trouble seeing posts about city council events. Like even tonight, nothing came up in my feeds at all. So we might need to look into stronger like social media influence, even partnering with like the Coolidge Youth Council, because once those kids get messaging, it's going to go around town really quickly. Some things like that might really help encourage community members to participate and just get the information out there. Because, like, I don't think a lot of people even knew about tonight. It's hard to find that kind of information. So I think if we can raise awareness through a stronger social media presence and getting in through our kids, through our youth, I think then families will find out about things. So I think that would definitely help get people involved. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Rushing, same question. How do you plan to involve residents in the decision-making process in Coolidge?
We had a little question a little while ago about skills and impact. These folks are right, social media. However, it's more formal when you do it as the city of Coolidge asking a question. Here's where my skills come in, sir. You have to get these persons that are impactful on social media in Coolidge. There are a handful of folks in Coolidge, every time they post something, hundreds of people respond. Those are the persons that you have to get to pose the questions. You as a council member or the mayor or city manager, when you pose a question, it's a little different from when Johnny poses a question, who's always posing questions, who always gets responses from the public. That's how you get the citizens involved, is when a regular citizen poses a question, they get responses. I think that's the key to get in through social media.
Thank you, Mr. Rushing. On to Mr. Shope, same question. How would you plan to involve residents in decision-making?
Well, I'd probably try to get some of those people Randall's talking about, and let's put a subcommittee together and you guys take over. But because there are people that get a lot of response, and some of it not the way you want to hear it, actually. But the website is actually a pretty good tool for Coolidge. I've looked at the website for a lot of things as I was making my decision to run for council again. So I think the website's fine, but who looks at the website? I mean, only somebody that has a special interest in finding out information about an item. Channel 11 at one time was, I thought, fairly well watched. I think it's for the same reason I think Councilmember Hudson just mentioned. Nobody watches that anymore, and if you do, and same thing, 4 years ago at the council meeting I saw, anyway. And then they have movies that are like 100 years ago. They were before black and white, I think, but it's just hard to watch that stuff. I think we can do better than that. And but I don't know what's going on. I don't know what the holds are on the staff that does Channel 11. But it can be a lot better than what it is, and it could be more informative to the people, raising some of these kind of questions that we're talking about right here. But so anyway, as far as getting the residents involved with what we're doing right now, it's not happening. And but it wouldn't take much to get it going. I mean, Channel 11 used to be a good way to get people knowledgeable anyway, but it's not that way right now. And that's about it.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Shope. And on to Mr. Gillespie to finish off this final question. And so what are some of the, how would you plan to involve residents in decision-making processes in Coolidge?
I think, as everyone said, social media is a big part of that. And coming from citizens rather than council members would be the best way, I would think, and citizens that gain more traction on social media. And I think the more people they get involved, it's kind of a domino effect. The more and more people start looking into the questions and the issues that are being put forth on the council, and it'll bring more awareness to issues that are coming up in the city.
Thank you. Appreciate that. So with that, we're going to wrap up the question phase. We appreciate all that. We might be running a little bit long, so I apologize to you guys if you can hang on a few more minutes. But we're going to move into our closing statements. So we're going to give each of you 2 minutes to round out your closing thoughts. And I think we ended this way last time. Maybe Councilman Bagnall can remember. I think he had a really popular answer. We'll end on a light note, though. Favorite spot to eat in town? It may be controversial. Maybe it's a light note. I don't know. So final thoughts. We're going to start with Ms. Jennings, and then we'll work our way back around.
So I feel like I can bring kind of a little bit of a fresh perspective. And definitely having lots of kids. I have teens, I have young adults, I have younger kids. And so I feel like that's the dynamic we need to keep our town alive and vibrant. I mean, even just sitting here hearing people, it's giving me ideas like how awesome. I didn't even know Channel 11 existed. News to me. So that's how widely utilized it is right now. But can you imagine if the high school here had a class and the kids worked on some video production or something and took that over? I mean, that could become something really vibrant that is informative to the town. So I feel like I love to learn new stuff, and I have some fresh ideas. And then favorite place to eat. I mean, I'm kind of biased because my daughter works there at the Coolidge Patio Grill. So, you know, you can't beat, you know, the Greek fries. That's the splurge night dinner, you know.
Thank you so much, Ms. Jennings. On to Mr. Rushing, closing statements, and if you'd like to weigh in on favorite spot in town to eat.
We're going to go with favorite spot first. You don't get this big just looking at food. You got to eat. And lately, I've been at the little ice cream spot on Main Street. They have ice cream made of corn. You heard me, corn. And it's delectable. 15 years ago, when I was 15 years old, that was a long time ago, Coach Glasgow came to town. Shout out to the coach. I'm glad he's back in town. He started a summer league for the kids, and he allowed me to coach these young people. And to see those big smiles on those kids' face and their eyes light up every time they saw me come on to coach, it was great. That was the greatest thing I had ever accomplished in my 15 years on earth. And at that point, I realized that I can make a difference and I can help. A little later on, I went to work for the Department of Developmental Disabilities. Many people know that as a training center. And there are many persons there that are much, much, much less fortunate than you and I. And with working with those folks, just to put a little smile on their face, man, it makes a heck of a difference. And I realized that I can help. Worked law enforcement for over 10 years, and Sheriff's Department, also Immigration and Customs Enforcement. And it's not a fun place. And every once in a while, I would get to have a one-on-one conversation with those folks. And to encourage them, inspire them, and give them a glimmer of hope, I realized that I could make a difference and I could help. I also worked with children for a very long time, and these children have been in the worst of worst situations that you can ever imagine. And seeing the progression of them over weeks, you realize that you can make a difference, you can help. So, with all that being said, hey, I'm an advocate of the people. I'm just here to help.
Thank you, Mr. Rushing. On to Mr. Shope, final thoughts, and if you want to weigh in on the restaurant question.
What was that now?
I said if you'd like to weigh in on the favorite restaurant as well in the end.
How many have we named so far? Okay. El Pollo Loco, I mean, but there's some good tags. I mean, I think any restaurant in town is great. I mean, they're all doing a good job, and they're all still in business. You're still in business, you're doing something right. Okay, so do I get to?
And final thoughts.
Okay, all right. So, I think I have the experience to do the job. I mean, I know I have the years involved. That doesn't always mean everything, what you learn while you're doing the job. So I'm not dead yet, so I think I can offer something to the city of Coolidge. I have a willingness to grow this community, to maybe beautify. We haven't talked about beautification though, but there's still a lot of work to do with code enforcement issues just to make the town presentable and beautiful. Lots of stuff we can do. So I just appreciate the support, and I think we can get this done, but it's going to take not just the council you elect. It's going to take all of you, all the citizens of Coolidge to work together, or as many as possible, the willingness to help us do the job. So that's it.
Thank you, Mr. Shope. On to Mr. Gillespie, final thoughts, and if you want to end on a favorite restaurant or not.
So I think, like I was saying, my age kind of helps bridge the gap between the youth and the older generation.
Watch it.
I'm catching up with you.
We don't have police in here tonight.
I feel that my business, the business aspect of my life, I own and operate 2 agricultural businesses that kind of go hand in hand with each other, but I feel like that would help me a lot in decision making and issues that come before the council. My wife and daughters and our faith in God are big parts of every decision I make in business and in life. And I feel that I'm open to any input the citizens of Coolidge have. If whoever's elected, we're here for them, for the citizens of Coolidge. So if that is me, then I'm here to listen to them. And favorite restaurants, 230 pounds, so I like to eat. Probably jalapenos and the goose. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gillespie. Okay, on to Councilman Hudson. Same thing. If you'd like to close out.
Well, my favorite place to eat is my wife's kitchen. She's a pretty good cook, so.
Answer.
Now you're making me look bad.
But other than that, it's tags. I just wish they were open to the evening time. They used to have a great dinner out there. But, I have been blessed to give back to the city of Coolidge, and has times been great? No. The times have been rocky and bumpy sometimes. And am I perfect? No, I'm not perfect. I don't think anybody is. But I'll guarantee you this, I care about the city of Coolidge, and the decisions I make are based on what's good for the citizens of Coolidge and what's good for the employees of Coolidge. And I will continue making that decision, which I think in my heart is the best for both. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hudson, and thank you to all the candidates. We appreciate you all being here tonight and sharing with us. Your willingness to put yourselves out there is admirable, so we appreciate all your thoughts and feelings and letting us get to know you a little bit better. So a few more reminders before we let everyone go. Again, the primary, July 30th, and mail-in ballots start on July 3rd. If you're not already registered, make sure everyone gets out there and registers, and remember to vote. We have power players out there in the audience, so we get some immediate, some of the things that were brought up today. We do have some council meetings and P&Z hearings are out there on YouTube. So if you haven't seen them previously on social media, you can go to YouTube, check those out. You can watch those meetings. With that, again, we want to thank the audience. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for your questions. And we're going to wrap up the evening. So we want everyone to get home safe, and thanks for coming out again.
Thank you, Matt.